Hi everyone, welcome to my sewing studio. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I actually set up my sewing area to help me actually be able to sew and not spend my time looking for the tool I need. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Lisa, the owner and designer behind Pink Hollybush Patterns. Pink Hollybush Patterns and Courses are a line of patterns that will enable you to sew garments that children and mamas adore because they are soft, comfy, and fit today's modern lifestyle. But now, let's go over to my sewing area. These are just some kind of little tips that I've found that have helped as I've done a lot of sewing, and I wish somebody had shown me some of these things before, because if you're like me, as you start sewing and the stuff kind of gets laid out, cluttered around, all of a sudden you're spending a lot of time looking for the tool you need rather than actually sewing. And if your sewing time is limited, which it is for most of us, that can be really frustrating. Maybe you only have 15 minutes. You want to be able to spend it getting that seam sewn, not looking for the zipper or the foot you need because you can't find it. So how do I do that? Well, the first thing is when I start a project, I put everything that I need in one of these zipper totes and keep it together. Now this is because I usually have a couple different sewing projects going on at the same time, and so if everything's together in the one tote bag, then I can put the tote bag, I just store them, these zipper pouches, in a basket under my cutting table, and when I have a few minutes I can just grab it and go over and get started right away. So when I buy the fabric, I'll put it in here. It's pretty full right now because the project I have in here just needs to be hemmed. I'll put the pattern in, the thread I'm using, any notions like zipper or buttons, so it is all right together. Okay. The next thing that I do is I have a little basket here that I keep right, as you can see, right up here. And it has, I'll show you, it just has the feet. Now, I have more feet than this, and Bernina comes, I have a Bernina machine. Bernina has a little thing that holds, in fact you can see it back there, holds a number of the feet. I have friends who have a lot more feet than that, and I have them all labeled in an individual containers. You certainly can do all that. These are the feet that I am using for almost every project. And so in the course of making that garment, I am switching the feet in and out. And what I would find is I wouldn't be good about taking the time to actually hang it back up in there, and I would just set it down. And now, okay, where was that foot I just had a minute ago that I now need for this next step? So while I will not take the time to hang them up in there, I will take the time to kind of make sure it makes it into the basket. So there's been no more lost feet, and I've found my feet in this little basket. Now, if you're wondering, well, which are those feet I use all the time? It's on the list for another video, so we'll be getting to that one soon. You'll also see that I have two pieces of fabric in here. One is a woven and one is a knit. And the reason I have those in there is I have a machine that has dual feed. And if you have a machine like that, you might find that you need this, or even if you don't have dual feed, if you have a problem with when you start your fabric at the edge, so you start it, so there's no fabric behind it, you're not starting in the middle of the piece somewhere, right? You're starting at the very edge, sewing a seam, for example. If you're finding that the machine is pulling the fabric down into the feed dogs, if you put a piece of fabric behind it, And the reason that's important with the dual feed is the dual feed piece is behind there that is actually pushing the fabric along. And so if that isn't on the fabric, and it isn't when you're starting with a seam, if you put the scrap piece of fabric right behind it and then start it, that solves the problem. So here are my 2 pieces of fabric that I need for that. They stay right in the basket as well. I know right where that is. I'm not scrambling for where did my scrap fabric go and is it on the floor? I usually have my glass of water. The other 2 things that I keep really handy are just 2 different cups. So let me show you those. And yes, those are back. They're not immediate in reach, but my chair does have little wheels so I can roll over and get them. This one is, I'll show you, just all my different marking pencils. So these are all fabric marking pencils. They are different kinds of fabric marking pencils, but that is what they are. And because of that, I don't grab something that isn't a fabric marking pencil. They're all in one place. I know right where they are, and so I can grab that and mark whatever I need while I'm sewing. The second thing are just a combination of things that disappear if I don't have them in a cup and that I use all the time. So there's a regular pencil, okay, tweezers, because I use these a lot, a couple different kinds of seam rippers. Wish I didn't use these as much, but I do, so they're here. My awl, I will use that to help feed things along. Right, the emery board that you need because you gotta, your nail is now catching the fabric. And the other thing I do keep down in here is my bodkin. If it didn't just disappear, might have to go find that again, but it should be in here as well. So those are all things that I use on a regular basis, and I often find I can't find if they're not in one place. Right, I'm going to reposition the camera and show you the other side of the sewing machine so you can see what I have over there. Be right back. Okay, you are now looking at the side of my sewing machine over here, which is a little unusual, but I want to let you see how this all is set up. So the first thing I have here is my magnetic pin cushion, and you'll see, of course, it holds my pins. And I also have this little container which takes all scraps of thread, and the top of it also holds pins. And I will use both of these as I'm pulling pins out and sewing. If the magnetic pin cushion is here, I just kind of plop it in the direction there, which is what is great about this. If my magnetic pin cushion has wandered, which it tends to, it will go over to the cutting table, or it will end up on the ironing board. Then I have this, and I will take the time to, as I'm pulling the pin out, just stick it right in the top of this. There's some batting in here, and so it does hold the pins. Of course, I have this for any threads as I'm snipping them as I'm sewing. I also have this. This holds my clips, okay, binding clips. So, if I have used those, I will have this open so I can drop those in as I'm going, or I like to have it handy if I need them to just add, you know, as I'm clipping things together, I should say. The other thing I hope you can see is right here is I have an embroidery pair of scissors, and I have this hanging on a command hook. So just took a command hook and stuck it to the side of my machine, and so that sits right there and I can find it. So even though my machine does have the automatic thread cutter, there still are a million times that you need to be able to snip threads there's something that needs to be trimmed, and having my my little embroidery scissors here. You could use a snips, whatever you like. It keeps it there. I know where it is. And again, I'm not trying to search for it. Now for my other scissors, those are over by my cutting table. I should say my cutting shears. I have those, reach down because I can reach it. Again, in a cup, there's my Kai ones, which I love. The rotary, different size rotary cutters are in here. And so they sit over below my cutting table, so I can just grab them over there. I do have some Dovo serrated scissors, and you can see them. They're kind of hanging back there on the pegboard. I'm still kind of struggling with what to do and where to store them. I'm trying to see if the pegboard is gonna work. It has some hooks. The problem is, right, I can't really reach those without standing up. And of course I can stand up, but you stand up, you get them, you cut what you need, and do you stand up again to hang them back up. So that's kind of, the wall is back there far enough that it's not easily reached without getting up or down or whatever. So I'm debating, that's why I haven't hung that up, am I really going to use it, or is it just clutter? Another alternative, I have a good friend who uses, this is a magnetic knife holder from IKEA. So again, this would be something that I could easily hang, and then the scissors would magnetically just stick to it. So that's another idea for you. If you have other ideas, I would love to hear them. Please just put them in the comments, because organizing your sewing and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't, it's kind of a constant challenge, but it's fun when you do find some things that work. So I hope that some of these tips or tricks will work for you and will help you from minimizing the frustration when you're sewing and add to the overall enjoyment of the experience. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I do post new videos every Tuesday. So I hope to see you here again, and happy sewing.